In today's breaking news, Fox News has turned on Donald Trump over his latest effort to weaponize the government against his list of enemies, and I have all the delightful details that he doesn't want you to hear coming up next. Specifically, I'm talking about Team Trump's indictment of James Comey, which stems from Comey's oversight of the FBI's investigation into ties between Trump's 2016 campaign in Russia and Trump's firing of Comey. Let's pick up the story with the most recent words from both men. First up is Trump saying there's not a revenge list that Comey is on, but there's definitely a revenge list. And then I'll have the surprising betrayal from Fox.
Now that James Comey has been indicted, who is the next person on your list in this retribution?
It's not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt. These were corrupt, radical left Democrats. Because Comey essentially was he's worse than a Democrat. I would say the Democrats are better than Comey.
President Trump, are you worried now that the next time there's a Democratic president, they will indict your FBI director or people in your administration?
That's what they tried to do, right? They did it with me. For 4 years, they went after me. They went after me for 4 years, and that doesn't include the 4 great years that we had in the White House. So when I ran it from, 2016, when we won, it began before I got to office. You know that. Wait a minute. Before I came to office, I started hearing rumors about Russia. I said, what the hell do I have to do with Russia? Nothing. And then it got worse and worse. And some of the fakers, not you, but some of the fake news picked it up and they loved it. And we went through a long time with that. And despite that, we had a great first term.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump. But we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees. And you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
With context established, here's Fox News pouring cold water on the flames that Trump is trying to fan. Usually, it only takes one data point for me to lead with a Fox betrays Trump narrative. But today, it's an embarrassment of riches, as 3 contributors to the propaganda channel have decided not to apply any shine to this gold-plated turd.
Let's not mince words here. I say this as a former Justice Department reporter. This was completely and totally orchestrated by President Trump. He says he's leaving it to justice, but he very much out in the open. Remember, he fired his own appointee as U.S. Attorney in that part of Virginia because he didn't think there was enough evidence to bring this case. Brought in White House aide, his former defense lawyer, whose job was to get this done, and apparently that has worked. I think we've become inured to this, but in previous administrations, any hint of contact within a criminal case would be a scandal on its own. And so President Trump, by the way he pulled the strings, has gotten his way with this initial indictment.
I think a lot of Americans would love to see some sort of accountability for James Comey for many, many reasons, for many, many sins. I'm not sure this particular charge is the way to go about it, in part because I'm not sure it's actually going to stick in the end, and that's going to leave a lot of disappointed people too. Andy can probably jump into the legality even more, but this is potentially a problematic prosecution.
Well, I don't think there's a case. The things that Kash Patel that you just played, that he was talking about, that you and I have spoken about for years, Maria, the Russiagate stuff, I'm as big a critic of that probably as there is. I wrote a book about it. I think it was a disgrace, and history will remember it that way. This indictment is not about that, and it seems to be premised on something that's not true, which is that McCabe said that Comey authorized him to leak to the Wall Street Journal. If you look closely at what McCabe said was that he directed a leak to the Wall Street Journal and told Comey about it after the fact. So it's true that Comey never authorized it in the sense of okaying it before it happened. So I don't see how they can make that case. What this case is about is Comey is accused of lying because what Ted Cruz said, and this, yeah, right, and what Cruz said, and I think this was just a garble on his part, was that Comey authorized McCabe to orchestrate the leak. And what the Inspector General found, and this isn't even just what the Inspector General found, this is McCabe's own version of events.
Right.
McCabe said that he directed the leak, and he told Comey about it afterwards. Now, they have a dispute about what exactly McCabe told Comey afterwards, and whether Comey was approving or disapproving of it. But the charge is that Comey authorized the leak, and he didn't authorize the leak.
So it appears that Trump is fighting against the odds on this one. So surely he has assembled a cracked team to defend his honor, right? Think again. Kyle Clark just posted, Lindsay Halligan, the newly installed U.S. attorney prosecuting James Comey at Trump's direction, is an insurance attorney and Miss Colorado finalist. She has never prosecuted a case. You know what Halligan's one qualification is? She said yes to carrying out revenge against Trump's list of enemies. For a dictator, loyalty is the most important qualification, and actual qualifications just don't matter. Of course, he has a long list, and Comey just happens to be the next name on it. Donald Trump is a tiny, unhinged, vindictive man. I know that, you know, and everyone at Fox News knows that. They can't use those words, but them saying this pace is problematic because Trump is pulling strings speaks volumes when you consider the source. And in the interest of fair and balanced reporting, I'll give Trump the final word. I've always been thin-skinned. I've been thin-skinned from day one.
Republicans in the U.S. Senate are now threatening to, quote, break ranks with Donald Trump over his association and peddling of his wacky, crazy anti-science ideas, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Here is what several Republicans said this week about Kennedy and Trump's press briefing, where they falsely claimed that taking acetaminophen during pregnancy was linked to an increased rate of autism, which no scientific study has ever shown. Here's what Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, chair of the Senate Health Committee, had to say. Health and Human Services should release the new data that it has to support this claim. The preponderance of evidence shows that this is not the case. The concern is that women will be left with no options to manage pain in pregnancy. You're going to change a medical guideline without science? I mean, you're going to build a bridge without physics? You're going to fly a plane without engineering? So Cassidy, Republican senator from Louisiana, clearly not buying any of this. That's why he's like, release the science. What do you have? And by the way, during that press briefing on Monday, Donald Trump actually said while announcing it, this is what I feel is happening. I feel this is what's happened. He's going on vibes. Republican Senator Susan Collins said, quote, it appears that Mons, one of the officials, was under a lot of pressure to approve recommendations that may come from the committee that may lack scientific basis. So that is disturbing and would undermine our public health efforts. I'm very pleased that Chairman Cassidy is going to have these hearings. Then Lisa Murkowski, of course, she said, it's very unsettling and very concerning. Very concerning. Are Murkowski and Collins ever able to say anything other than it's very concerning? Hey, Brett Kavanaugh may have, reworded this woman. What do you think? Oh, it's very concerning. Hey, he was a pretty much borderline alcoholic. Oh, it's very concerning. Hey, Donald Trump's kind of becoming a dictator. Yeah, it's very concerning. Hey, kids are going to die because Trump told them not to get vaccines based on false material from Kennedy. Oh, it's very concerning. Piss off. Like, piss off all the way with that crap. Then you had an unnamed senator who told The Hill, speaking on the condition of anonymity, you see a lot of Republicans starting to break ranks here, and there's a lot of noise. I think it will come down to Trump and what his tolerance level is for all this noise around Kennedy. I don't think he likes all the noise. He hasn't liked that previously. He has really low tolerance level for that. But Bobby Kennedy is different. He's not like anyone else in the cabinet.
And that's a good point, right? When Hegstax was going through all of his stupidity, his nonsense, nonstop scandals, the White House actually pulled him in this summer, in June I believe it was, and basically said, if you don't knock this off, you're gone. We have had this ad, like Tulsi Gabbard recently got in trouble with him. All of these other people have gotten in trouble. But Kennedy, no. Kennedy, of course, is the most popular member of the administration according to recent polling. And when I say most popular, he still has a net -7 approval rating. So most people hate him, but they just hate him less than they hate everybody else in the cabinet. So he's not doing well, but he's doing better than everybody else. I imagine those polls are going to drop after Monday's press conference. Trump's own pollsters, Fabiccio and Ward, warned him and Republicans in the Senate that all this attack on vaccines, all of this, all of these false statements about autism, the voters hate it. Even Republican voters hate it. Even MAGA Republican voters aren't buying this crap. Kennedy is hurting you. I talked about that story a couple weeks ago, that Trump's own pollsters, the few people in the world he trusts, are telling him that. Now you got the Republicans in the Senate telling him that explicitly. Kennedy is taking you down. You've got articles coming out this week to saying, oh, Kennedy's only doing this because of his trial lawyer buddies. They want to sue Tylenol for autism, even though they tried to a couple years ago, and the judge basically laughed it out of the court immediately, getting rid of it because they had no evidence. The whole thing is dumb. Kennedy is dumb. He wasn't always dumb. He's become dumber because he doesn't read real things anymore. He reads quack science from a bunch of hacks and thinks it's true. He thinks true things are false.